going to be ready to come right out the gates. And he's going to be a very high pick when we get to that draft in Green Bay.
To run. He's got the end zone. Sanders down the field.
Cam Ward to throw. Into the end zone.
Ward's going to take off.
Diving.
Shot out of a cannon. Coming off the edge.
He lost the football. Put it on the ground.
Matthew Golden for 6.
And all too easy, Matthew Golden. Because he jumps off the tape.
Lacerating that offensive front.
Jeanty with some room.
Powers his way, breaking tackles. Still on his feet. Nobody open. He's sacked all the way back. Abdul Carter.
Jeanty Barron the takeaway.
Outfield.
And it is intercepted.
Wow, what a wrinkle. Tyler Ward. Caught. Touchdown.
Again, fires. End zone. Hunter caught it.
Throws for
Hunter. He'll walk in for 6.
My emotions are all over the place. There's excitement mixed with a little bit of sadness. Welcome to Mock Draft Live presented by Toyota. I say that because I'm excited. We got the NFL draft. It is around the corner, but this is our final Mock Draft Live. Like, what are we doing?
I mean, maybe we can do one for next year. Maybe we can just get the game
Just
back together.
early.
Just an early.
You just said you wanted to start your 26 mock drafts already.
But it's better as a collective.
I'm with you. Look, this dude he's got another mock draft around the corner that you've been working
Tuesday.
on. Full details of all of that stuff. Mike and Bucky Brooks. Great to have Cynthia Freeland on the last one. Where have you been?
It's not my fault. No one scheduled me for it. I would have come. I'm here. I'm happy to be here. I don't know.
Well, we are happy that you are here. Today, a little unique. Normally, we have one of our analysts that just released a mock draft, and you get to criticize and be critical, which is great in a positive way. Today, though, we're using a combination of fan votes from X. PFF has a very cool mock draft simulator to create mock drafts for a lot of people out there. We've also got some celebrities that are going to be weighing in on their teams.
Okay. Ooh.
You ready to get to it?
Absolutely. I mean, I need to see who's making these picks.
Okay.
Who are the celebrities?
Well, that is still to come here. But we start with the number one selection. And yes, on social media, NFL Network put this out there. The Titans with number 1, and not a surprise here. In fact, I don't know if we had a mock draft this entire season where Cam Ward wasn't the first selection, an overwhelming favorite at nearly 70%. Bucky, you're not surprised by this?
No, not surprised at all. There's been a lot of conversation over the last few weeks about Cam Ward going to the Tennessee Titans. And to me, this is the Titans reaching back in their past, adding Steve McNair to their roster. Think about a big-time playmaker, guy who has a rugged game, but outstanding arm talent. Well, that's Cam Ward. When you look at Cam Ward make these spectacular plays, he is going to change the culture in that locker room. We talk about the talent, the tools, the tenacity. He brings all that. That's why the Titans could be back.
Well, for the Browns at number 2, Cynthia asked for it. Who the special guests are, we got our first one on deck for the selection.
What's up? It's the most must-see WWE superstar of all time, The Miz, and it's the second pick. So my Browns are on the clock. That's right, Cleveland's team, the future Super Bowl champions, will select with the second overall pick the two-way phenom, the human highlight reel. The man who's gonna lock you down and burn you deep from the University of Colorado wide receiver and cornerback, Travis Hunter. That's right, offense, defense, and pure dominance. To the league, you've been warned. To the dog pound, this is our year. Because the Browns aren't just going to be good. They're going to be awesome!
Miz handling business for us. Cynthia, look, I know we're all fired up. This selection seems to fit some needs, and he's also pretty special.
I'd say it's pretty awesome. I'm not going to scream awesome like that. I would also like to point out that The Miz didn't blink that whole time, which is just an extra version of dominance that I haven't seen in a while. That was pretty incredible. But I'm looking at Travis Hunter, and I think he is the best player in this draft. I think he's the most interesting one. I think he's the most culture-shaking and saving and different. Absolutely, any team would be happy to have him, and I think it's a great pick.
There's a real opportunity for the Browns to get better on either offense or defense or both with this selection. And almost 45%, though, of PFF mock simulations, Abdul Carter, Bucky, ends up with the G-Men.
Here we go. Best player available. When we think about the G, man, when they've been at their best is because they're dominant on defense and particularly dominant on the front line. Now you have Abdul Carter joining the front line that has Dexter Carter, has Brian Burns, you have Kayvon Thibodeau. Now you can hunt the quarterback. And when we think about that division, building your team to win the NFC East, you better be able to deal with the quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, and Dak Prescott. This gives them a chance to do so.
Fascinating situation for the Giants. We know they've already made some adjustments with some veterans in that quarterback room, but they'll get better on defense if they get Carter. Meanwhile, the Patriots going Will Campbell here.
Not worried about his arms? No. I think the interesting part about Will Campbell is that when you watch the film and you watch who he's gone up against, this is the first guy that we've seen in this like SEC, I think there's Power 2 divisions this year, and he's gone up against the best talent. I think that worst case scenario is he ends up later in his career bouncing in to be a guard. Oh, that sounds like such an awful backup plan, you know. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, all right, I sat with a bunch of O-line coaches. This is where I spent all of my master's thesis. Very comfortable with this selection.
Okay. Meanwhile, at number 5, over 60% of fans on the mock simulators have the Jags, a team that you were part of that radio broadcast team, going Mason Graham.
Man, look, I think Mason Graham gets a bad rap because he's so solid and so clean that people can't get excited about a defensive tackle that does everything the right way. But when I look at him, he plays the game with relentless competitive spirit. He's a non-stop motor, has great violent hands at the point of attack, and then he just can get after as a low-leverage player. To me, you're the Jaguars trying to fix a defense. You got to put someone in there that is dominant at the point of attack. He's a disruptive force at the point.
Yeah, Mason Graham, one of those guys that continued to churn out a highly productive college career, and according to Bucky, by the way, number 1 on his list of defensive tackles. Meanwhile, once again to social media, which team should take Ashton Jeanty in the NFL draft? This is an interesting case study because on Mock Draft Live, we have seen a range, and it's anywhere from as high as 2 all the way down to 7 or so. Cannot wait to see where he ends up landing, but Jeanty, absolutely spectacular, Cynthia, when you go and watch him.
Yeah, the interesting part about the Raiders is that they addressed the quarterback position, which was a huge need. I'm curious to see what happens with the interior offensive line, but things get a lot easier when you have a guy who can earn yak, and I'm saying it both ways, yak on the ground, yak through the air, the way that Ashton Jeanty can. So I think the fit here, obviously, Pete Carroll, he knows what he wants, he has a vision. We've seen that work other places, you know, like the Broncos when they have a vision. So when you're watching this and you're thinking, this guy is just he's a really good opportunity there, great fit, a great guy to build your team around.
We have seen the Raiders, a very common selection and landing spot for Ashton Jeanty here on Mock Draft Live, presented by Toyota, and the fans certainly agreeing. 59% going on the Mock Draft Simulator, which, by the way, you can go and try out for yourself just to see how it all plays out. But it is time for Draft Builders, presented by Lowe's. Does the amount of hype that Jeanty is getting, does it match what you see on film?
Yes. It does match. He is terrific when he has the ball in his hands. This is a guy that people are talking about being a dominant player from the day that he steps onto the field. And you can see it when you look at the X and O tape. It starts with just being slippery and elusive. Contact balance is outstanding. Vision is exemplary. But what I love about him is the way that he is able to just find and slither through cracks repeatedly. This is a guy who has the power to run over people, but also the quickness, the lateral balance to move around people. So we can evade and elude and also have the speed to go the distance. It makes it really, really hard for any defense to deal with him. And it's the consistency in the play. I saw him tote the ball 9 times, 30-plus carries. He had 18 carries of 20 or more throughout his career. This is a workhorse runner, a throwback. And when you are 28 yards short of breaking Barry Sanders' single-season mark, that lets you know how special this player is.
With the amount of second halves that he ended up not even playing because they were blowouts, so.
Yeah, and the interesting part I'll add there is you said he's a great player with the ball in his hands. I would also say he's also a great player without the ball in his hands. The stuff he does to block, the other things that keep him on the field for all 3 downs, that's important too, even though it doesn't show up in the highlight reel.
Dominant player.
Yeah. When you're watching this, like you're watching him with the ball in his hands right there, but that happened because of the other stuff that he was able to do. So watching all of these different ways, the way he's able to not lose speed as he's going lateral in his movements, huge deal there.
Yeah. Once again, I just think there's so much excitement around what this guy can do. If Travis Hunter doesn't have the type of season where he's playing both ways and he's as dominant as he is, it's probably Ashton Jeanty that's walking away with the Heisman vote.
Yeah, there's some people out west that would say that he should have walked away with it anyway.
Yeah. Well, that was,
I'm not saying I'm one of those guys. I'm saying, but it was.
I got to tell you, it's at least for me, it was close. This is my first year where I actually had a Heisman vote, and I was going back and forth on this one. Especially you watch him late in the season, guy absolutely spectacular. But let's take a closer look at number 7 here, and the New York Jets. Which way they decide to go? Maybe a little help up front for Justin Fields.
Yeah, Justin Fields. We can talk about whether we want to add pass catchers or playmakers on the perimeter, but really you got to make sure you take care of the point of attack. Membu is a dominant block. He's outstanding with his footwork and lateral quickness, perfect in a zone-based scheme because of his movement skills. And then you see the nastiness, the violence, and look, he has a little prickly personality that sometimes can rub people the wrong way. But I actually like that in our offensive lineman. We're not playing friends. It's okay to have frenemies. He has a personality. He's going to make a lot of frenemies.
Aaron Glenn will like it. Aaron Glenn will like it.
Time to get a little dirty here. Tight one for the Panthers, right? Like, which way do you go? You got some needs on the offensive side and on the defensive side, according to the simulator and our fans. It's going to be Jalen Walker.
Jalen Walker's game is so sound. This is a great pick. But I'm looking at the Panthers, and I'm looking at the fans and the simulator. I'm like, yo, this could be the trade spot right here, because if a team needs a quarterback, they're going to have to jump ahead of the Saints. So the Carolina Panthers are really in a great position in this draft, and they could shape things in a really interesting way.
Yeah, Cynthia, it's a great observation, one that we haven't heard so far on Mock Draft Live, because we haven't talked a whole lot about trades, but you're right. That 8th position here could be ripe for the picking, because the Panthers, maybe not locked in on offense or defense, best player
when you got a lot of needs, take more swings.
And get some extra assets in the mix to help out a young quarterback in Mr. Bryce, who once again showed that he's actually their guy. Coming up, speaking of quarterbacks, Colorado's Shedeur Sanders. When will he come off the board? And the fans, their take on the Chicago Bears, plenty of star power still left. Our fan mock drafts, it continues after this. 2025 NFL Draft presented by Bud Light, just a couple days away. All 7 rounds, 3 days live from Green Bay, Wisconsin. It kicks off Thursday in prime time on NFL Network and NFL Plus. You can visit NFL.com/draft for more information. All right, continuing our fan mock draft on X, we asked which position group should the Saints target with the 9th overall pick in the NFL draft. This one, not breaking news, certainly not shocking. QB1, the answer for the fans.
Sanders, end zone, caught! Touchdown!
It is Sanders, and he will waltz in. Touchdown. The Buffs lead for the first time. End zone for Shepard. That's a big hug, and he still came down with it. Sanders down the field, and a wide open Hunter.
Unbelievable! Fires, got a man!
Sanders to run. He's got the end zone.
Buck, I know you're not surprised by this. The fans taking Shedeur, putting him in New Orleans.
No, not surprised. You need a quarterback in New Orleans. Derek Carr has an injury that could keep him out for all of the season. And you need a quarterback of the future anyway. So now you take Shedeur Sanders to put him in an offense that'll be directed by Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore has worked with all types of quarterbacks, going back to his time from Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts. He can find a way to build a game plan and a playbook around Shedeur Sanders. I like the pick and fit in New Orleans.
Shedeur Sanders, the teams that you can pick from that would have him most likely the destination. Well, according to the PFF mock simulator, 34% saying it is going to be the Saints. And by the way, if Sanders is drafted, he could become the 4th father-son duo to be picked in the top 10. So the Saints obviously knocking on the door. He's in that conversation. Never know how it's going to play out with regard to those quarterbacks. But it's time for Going Places, presented by Toyota. Cynthia, what do you like about the fit with Kellen Moore and Shedeur?
There's a couple of things there that Kellen Moore makes things easy for quarterbacks. And, you know, we love Deion. We're all Deion stans here. But if he's only had one coach for his entire career, like since he was a little tiny kid, then it can be different when you come to this next level and you're playing against, NFL defenses right off the bat. It's not the same for anyone. But the thing I like about Shedeur Sanders is, given the fact that his O-line didn't really help him out, he was under the most pressure of any of the guys that we're looking at in this draft class, he did not throw uncatchable balls. He had a low rate of uncatchable balls. So what you're saying is I don't know what his total upside is because we didn't see him from a clean pocket a ton, but I do know that he limits his downside, which is great. And Kellen Moore making things easy for him to transition, those two things together make for a really good opportunity to succeed at this level.
Yeah. Who's the comp?
Jared Goff. Former #1 overall pick is the comp for me.
I like that one.
There's a lot of conversation
I know you do.
that Jared Goff had coming in when people talked about the arm talent. Would he be able to be strong enough and athletic enough and mobile enough and those things? And you have to surround him with the right supporting cast. Well, a lot of those things hold true when it comes to Shedeur Sanders. But much like Jared Goff, Shedeur has the toughness. He throws with outstanding timing, touch, and anticipation. And the accuracy is off the charts. Very similar to Jared Goff. When he's protected and surrounded by playmakers, we have seen him not only play at a Pro Bowl level, but we've seen him lead a team to the Super Bowl. I have the same expectations for Shedeur Sanders in the right environment with the right people. I think he can pull off similar things to Jared Goff in the pros.
Yeah, fans in New Orleans should be excited if that is going to be the recipe. The comp, and also some of the success that Jared Goff has had on the field. To number 10, Chicago Bears fans. We actually have a huge Bear fan, singular, with the pick.
Seth freaking Rollins, big Chicago Bears fan here, and the Bears are on the clock. Their pick will be Michael Williams, University of Georgia. Let's go!
Do we like this?
I just like the enthusiasm that they pick. I can't help but think about Adam Rank, who I work with on Fantasy Live a lot, and I just feel like I'm the wrong person to be giving this analysis. It's for Chicago. It's with a wrestler. It just feels like a Rank situation. But Michael Williams, what I like about him is his ability on the second try. So sometimes you have got a good burst, then the O-lineman gets you. Then you burst again. That's a really big deal at the next level, and that's something he showed at an elite level on the college field.
Yeah, this is a guy that was very disruptive with those 6.5 TFLs in each of the last 3 campaigns. The Niners, Buck, going with defense and going with one of the premier corners.
Yeah, premier corner, Janae Barron. And what you like about Barron is he's so versatile in terms of where he plays and how he plays. He's a guy who's really ideally suited to play in his zone because he's so good with his vision, his instincts, and awareness. But he can play outside, he can play in the slot. Even if you need him to play safety, he can do all those things. Really good football player. And for me, I want to put him in a high IQ defense where he can use all of those skills to be a dominant player. He can be a dominant player in San Francisco and Robert Saleh's defense.
All right, we asked on social media, who should be the first wide receiver drafted after Travis Hunter? Ted McMillan isn't a huge surprise, at least to me, because he's a guy that we've talked about as one of the premier wide receivers for months now, and yet here on Mock Draft Live, Matthew Golden's name has been sort of inserted into the fold. Cynthia, you made reference to Adam Rank. First time we heard of Luther Burden here on the show was last week when he was with us, but Ted McMillan, what do we make of him being potentially that second wide receiver?
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you look at his physical makeup, it is like mwah, chef's kiss. Perfect physical makeup. The interesting part about the fit here will be how do they plan on protecting the quarterback long enough to be able to get this guy running the routes that you need him to run, because I'm very confused about the Cowboys O-line. But that's notwithstanding, I think the Ted McMillan situation here is a good one for them and would be work nicely with CeeDee Lamb.
Cowboys holding the 12th overall selection. And speaking of these wide receivers in the group here, Matthew Golden, that once again, that name popping up here a fair amount, Bucky. But once again, it does feel like there's a lot of teams that are focusing in on this position because how the evolution of offenses and the need to really score a ton of points.
Yeah, everyone wants a wide receiver because right now the price tag has gone up astronomically when it comes to re-signing and retaining a marquee receiver. $30 million, we're talking $30 million plus we're talking about at wide receiver. So now you can go in the draft and get someone cost certainty, security, and that gives you an opportunity to build out the rest of your team, particularly when you have a high-priced quarterback. That's why we're seeing so much interest in wide receivers in the draft.
Yeah, you like Ted or Matthew Golden for the Cowboys perspective?
Oh, I'm going to take the big body playmaker. I'm going to take the former volleyball star, Ted McMillan. I want to put him opposite CeeDee Lamb because if you're building out your wide receiver core, you want a bit of a basketball team. You want differences. So CeeDee Lamb is the catch and run specialist. Ted McMillan is the red zone weapon, the guy that is the jump ball playmaker. Because of that, you have a little balance and diversity, which will help Dak Prescott as he picks and chooses where to go with the ball.
I'm going to take the other side of this with a Matthew Golden argument. And what could be the good reasoning for that? One, it's a little bit, the speed factor there is not to be denied. The other part about this is I saw some interesting throws from his quarterbacks, plural. And he was able to come back and adjust to what was going on at a very high level. He actually can, I love change of direction speed. So when your hips flip at that last minute when you're about to catch the ball, if you have a quarterback where you don't ever have to flip your hips, life's better. Yes. But if you ever have to make those adjustments, he's really good at that. Oh, we're going to go. I'm not going to lose my speed. I'm not going to get beat by the defensive back. So that's what I think could be an interesting situation for him, because I saw you picked a tackle for them in your mock draft, Bucky Brooks.
I believe in
because
the trenches.
I'm telling you, it's going to be harder. You lose Zach Martin, your life doesn't get easier. So I think being able to adjust to harder throws faster is a really big advantage.
This is a fun pick. This is fun. This is
yeah.
the icing on the cake. But at some point, you got to have the yellow cake. We don't have the yellow cake. You can't put the chocolate icing on it. We got to have the cake. So the cake would be an offensive lineman. The icing would be a playmaker on the outside.
I prefer cake without icing. Let's just do that. Let's just say that.
You could also make an argument for a running back in this selection, depending on how this draft board is shaping up. We've seen your guy, Marion Hampton, also named and linked to this Dallas Cowboys team. But you're right, those big bodies up front certainly will help the cause. Now, for as much as there's an evolution at that wide receiver spot, we're also seeing DBs get paid. You need one to thrive here in Miami. Going Will Johnson, Buck.
Oh, yeah, going with Will Johnson, because we know that Jalen Ramsey would no longer be on the Miami Dolphins. So we got to find a suitable replacement. To me, Will Johnson is a guy that can replace some of the things that Jalen Ramsey does in the back end. This is a scheme-friendly player, a guy that can play all plays with great vision and eyes, does a terrific job of making plays in terms of being a top-down player. And then when you look at the versatility and the fact that he is a ball magnet, I want to have him. Pick-six machine, 3 pick-sixes in his career at Michigan. We need to add that to the defense. Defense is our offense in Miami.
Tyler Warren, Cynthia, is arguably the best tight end in this class.
Yeah, what's funny is right before the show, I got off the phone with a scout who told me that don't count out Colson Loveland. Some people like him, and I think that maybe the Colts are sitting here thinking they want tight end. What's their tight end opportunity? If he falls to them, they'd be very happy to have Tyler Warren. This guy is he's all the things you need in a tight end. Look at that stature. He's incredible. But I don't know if Colson Loveland's getting a little more late time love here, late time push here.
Yeah, look, Colson Loveland is a good player. It's styles. We talk about ice cream and stuff like that, vanilla and chocolate. Do you want the wide tight end and Warren, or do you want the flex tight end?
I like swirl, please.
Cold and sweet. Trust me, I got my lab results back. I was telling you about this, the high A1C. I've had to now officially say no more.
No more.
Yeah, so please do not make those references any longer here.
Oatmeal. You need to eat more oatmeal.
Everyone knows if we see Yan with a sweet treat, we got to slap it out his hand.
That's right. I'll eat it.
That actually happened last night at home. I had a little piece of chocolate and got yelled at, so I'm being held accountable. Meanwhile, picks 17 through 24 in our fan mock drafts still on deck. The Steelers, do they get their quarterback of the future? And yeah, I have a feeling there's going to be more wide receivers taken off the board. We got more of Mock Draft Live coming up next. Get more of the NFL with NFL Plus. You can follow the journey of future NFL stars. Stay connected throughout the offseason with coverage of the NFL Draft and more, all in one place. Subscribe today at plus.nfl.com. Terms and conditions apply. Going through our fan mock draft, and at 17, Buck, the Bengals. Boy, they've needed some help on defense, and here it is.
No, look, you talk about a guy at one point was #1 overall recruit in high school. We talk about him and Travis Hunter and all this, but this is a dominant player, disruptive at the point of attack, really came on like game busters this year. Can get after it. Talk about force, finesse. He can use his power, strength, power, explosiveness, or he can use the wiggle, violent hands. Terrific player at the point of attack. If he gets to Cincinnati, man, Mike Brown and everyone is excited about having a big-time player like that join the squad.
Cynthia, from defense, we go to offense for Seattle, and we're going to the trenches.
Yeah, Gray Zabel, you'll see a T, but he's a G to me.
Oh.
When you're watching this,
Well done.
you're looking at this offensive guard position. You need to figure out a way to keep Sam Darnold protected. You saw the difference when he has a little bit of time or not. Geno was under a ton of pressure there. That will need to change, and I love this pick for Gray Zabel.
He's made a lot of noise over the last couple weeks or so. Wouldn't be surprised.
He hasn't. Other people have, which is what I like about him.
Okay. All right.
He's probably going to go fishing. He's probably not going to the draft. He's probably fishing.
Let's go to 19. How about this on PFF? it doesn't get closer than this because it is a tie with this selection at number 19. So you can see in that type right corner needs, edge, linebacker, DB. That's in order according to PFF on which direction they should go. So not a huge surprise, Cynthia. You would be smiling, a Boston College kid. The real selection here for the Bucs. So looking forward to seeing if this actually plays out.
The thing that I like about Donovan Ezraku's tape is that he's obviously got Bill O'Brien kind of figuring out what to do as the coach, and he gets better. We don't see a lot of these. Everyone's transferring, doing all these crazy things. You don't get to see the growth with every single player. The burst is there, maybe like the size or whatever. He's very he's a little Matthias Kiwanuka in him. And that's where I'm really interested to see how he does at the next level.
We're making sure we're keeping college allegiances together.
Yeah.
So the Boston College grad gets to talk about her player and Carolina fans. But
there we go.
Stand up.
Oh, I mean, like, why wouldn't you want to talk about a guy that goes from a distinguished university with the nicest uniform? Why not? Like, why wouldn't you want to talk about that?
So do you like this selection of Marion Hampton to Denver?
And look, if he's there for the Broncos, you just got to run the card up. Sean Payton loves having a bell cow running back. He likes having a deep rotation, but at some point he likes having diversity in the backfield, meaning he has a banger, a guy that can do the dirty work inside, run with strength and power. That would be Hampton. And then having someone on the perimeter that can get to the corner. So with Hampton, he gives them that guy that can handle it 20-plus times, allows them to really run the ball, and it sets up Bo Nix for play action. I like the pick.
Last year he says, we love Bo Nix, they take Bo Nix. This year he says in his presser, we're focused on the running back position. I think they're going to take a running back. He's not a lying liar who lies like some other coaches. He's telling you everything he's going to do.
I've never heard that, a lying liar who lies.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
Kyle Shanahan is a lying liar who lies, and he knows I says it. Okay.
Cynthia Freeland, the rapper over here.
Do
like,
not repeat that at all. There's
lying liar who
no
lies?
chance.
Yeah.
I'm still working on elementary school. Sally sells seashells.
By the seashore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steelers been linked to a quarterback. Selection number 21. Is it Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart? According to PFF, we are going to roll with Jackson Dart here because Sanders already taken off the board. But in terms of the simulation, a lot of the fans do like him. So, Buck, do you feel like this is a selection that really makes a whole lot of sense?
It does make sense. You don't have the quarterback room completely solidified. You have Mason Rudolph that you brought back to be temporarily the starting quarterback. Aaron Rodgers out there hanging in Never Neverland. You don't know if he's going to come. So we got to have a young guy that's ready to be the face of the franchise going forward. Jackson Dart I like because, look, he has some adversity. He goes from USC to Ole Miss, plays on the Lane Kiffin, gets better and better. I like the toughness. I like the alpha dog mentality. More importantly, I like the talent. The talent shows up on tape. I think you can work with him. Arthur Smith would do a really good job finding a way to get
Even if Aaron goes there, would you still take him?
Yeah, I'll take one because I don't think Aaron's going to be there for long.
Wow, okay. You know, we saw a historic run of quarterbacks last year in the draft. Quarterbacks in the first rounds, according to the fans' mock draft, just 3, which...
Not history.
No, not history making, although also not a surprise. I would be shocked if this is not necessarily the order of players, but the order of selection. You might have to move up to grab your guy.
You may have to move up, or they may come right to you. Like, we never know. Like, the draft is funny. All it takes is one of those teams to do an unexpected surprise in the top 10, and these quarterbacks will fall out.
Yeah, a little bit more on these quarterbacks. Time for Cluster Buster. Speaking of rap, I wonder if you could have done maybe it's touch better on the Cluster Buster, on the freestyle something for me.
Well, think about it.
Let's talk about ceilings here. Who's the player that you like that you really think maybe gets drafted first round, late first round, second round guy, but really can elevate a team?
I feel like today's the day with the T's. I've used a lot of T words today.
You are.
So I'm going to continue to stick with the T's when I talk about Jalen Milroe having the highest ceiling. And the reason why is the ceiling is the roof, as my guy Michael Jordan confirmed. So we're going to talk about talent and turbo. That is why Jalen Milroe is the guy who has the biggest ceiling. When we think about the talent, the arm talent stands out in terms of deep ball prowess. I don't know if anyone throws a prettier deep ball than Jalen Milroe. And then when we talk about the turbo, 4.3 speed for a quarterback who can run it with power. Like, this is what you love to do in the new game. We can run quarterback power and all those things. And then when you bring everybody up, we're going to throw it over the top. That's why he's there. Jalen Milroe.
Buck, first of all, I love your response. Number one, Cynthia, you weren't here for this show, but I did drop the ceiling is the roof. And the fact that you brought that back, I
don't even understand like why they're so funny. I think it's a great quote by one of the GOATs.
He is the GOAT. I just love that you went there. And two, Jalen Milroe, your assessment, I mean, if you've watched him play, my God, he can be electric on the football field. Feel like this could be potentially a huge win for a team. Wild card player, though. Who, in your mind, would you lean towards?
Talk about a guy you've watched quite a bit, Tyler Shuck from Louisville. Now, I know that there's been some injury concerns, but if you clock who actually threw this past year in college football, the fastest of the quarterbacks in terms of arm speed, talent, like what's going to happen? Deepest ball, fastest ball, it's him. So when you're looking at that and that arm talent, what you can do with that if harnessed well, if staying healthy, if in the right system. You know, you talked earlier about like putting Shedeur Sanders in the right system, surrounded by the right people. I think that's true of every quarterback. And I think every quarterback is also system quarterback until they kind of redefine the system. But he's got some of the raw talent, and that arm is really. Why are we showing this against BC? No. What are you doing here?
Maybe the results will
Very
change.
mean to me, but
maybe the results will change the next time we see.
But I think he could in a very interesting situation, he can make all the throws.
I wouldn't make the comp here. There's one similarity that comes to mind. Bo Nix, who also played at Oregon just like Tyler Shuck did, had a ton of starts. Tyler Shuck is probably knocking on the door for Social Security at this point. He's been in college
He's been around for a long time.
But there's a ton of reps that he has had at that game, at that level. We saw him flash at the Senior Bowl. I was talking to your guy, Rhett Lewis, who was there for it. He said, hey, there's a lot of buzz around this player. So maybe it's a really good fit there. But we know this. To get a quarterback to win, game on the line, if there's one drive, that clutch factor, who's the guy that you would lean to?
Shedeur Sanders.
Oh.
Shedeur Sanders, it's time. It's winning time. We got to watch it because it's winning time. Shedeur Sanders is the guy that I'm going to pick in this situation.
Do you have a watch on?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Shedeur Sanders, we talk about the clutch ability to be able to perform under pressure. We saw him do it at Jackson State. Yeah. We saw him do it again at Colorado. We understand that he can manage the 2-minute situation like a seasoned vet. And because he was coached by a pro, Pat Shermer, former NFL head coach, offense coordinator, he is going to be prepared for those situations in the pros. That's why Shedeur Sanders.
Okay.
You're not wearing a watch.
Not wearing
it doesn't work if you're not
I
wearing
didn't have a watch on in the game. It's a celebration.
I thought you were flexing. I thought there might have been the tiger fist
young
bump.
people know.
Then you're flashing the Dame time situation without the timepiece. I don't know.
I'll draw one on in the break.
We're continuing with actually one of your friends, one of those celebrity pickers.
My friends?
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Jerry O'Connell with the Chargers.
Aw, we love Jerry.
Hey, what's up? Jerry O'Connell here. Currently in the Pacific Northwest, gorgeous up here. But actually, I live in Southern California, where the Los Angeles Chargers are picking 22nd. And we want Shamar Stewart or Donovan Azirowaku. I pronounced that name correctly. We need some help on defense now that Mr. Bosa is gone. And we're going to get it with the 22nd pick. Come on over, Shamar or Donovan.
It's going to be one or the other, according to Jerry. He's your bud, Cynthia. You like the analysis, or did you feed him the pick?
I didn't feed him the pick, but he's really smart. He can make it on his own. It's never when you talk about Harbaugh trenches. Okay, like that's going to be a yes for me. And especially when you're losing the pieces that they lost this past year, you're in a very challenging division. You really need to get after the quarterback. Shamar Stewart, love the burst. Great opportunity here.
Chargers to the Packers. Look, draft's going to be in Green Bay. This is, I believe, the first time on Mock Draft Live this season we've had Green Bay not taking a corner.
Yeah, this is something that is not typical for the Green Bay Packers. They traditionally don't take a wide receiver in the first round, but we're going to go with the people's choice, and Emeka Egbuka is the people's choice. And baby, we heard Josh Jacobs cry for a number one receiver, saying they need to get one. So maybe Egbuka is the choice. You throw him in with that young stable of talented pass catchers, and maybe Jordan Love is able to throw the ball all over the yard in Green Bay.
I love his ability to run routes, and if I would have picked this, people would be like, you don't know anything about football. The Packers, they don't ever pick a wide receiver in the first round. But if the fans pick it, then you can't get mad at me anymore.
Yeah,
and the fans own the team.
Exactly.
Great
call. If the team owners choose this, what are we supposed to do?
Just watch and enjoy the production from the wide receiver with Jordan Love. Let's move on to another celebrity picking for the Vikes.
Hey everybody, Josh Duhamel here, number one Vikes fan. That's right, Nick Swardson. Anyway, in this 2025 NFL mock draft, I believe that the Vikings have loaded up on their offensive line, all kinds of weapons offensively, new quarterback. Defensively, we should be strong, but I do think that at the safety position, Harrison Smith may or may not be in his last year. So, I mean, who better to learn under than him, right? So I think the Vikes should go with Malachi Starks, Georgia. Skull Vikes, baby.
We'll take that. By the way, you mentioned Harrison Smith. Maybe this makes some sense because he is entering his 14th campaign.
his 14th campaign, and also you've got a defensive coordinator in Brian Flores that knows how to do really fun things with defensive backs, false leverages, all of these really athletic. You need to be an athlete to be able to handle all of the things and the workload that's really going to be asked of him. So I love this pairing. Good work, Tad Hamilton. Win a Date with Tad. You don't remember that movie? Win a Date with Tad Hamilton? Come on!
Cynthia, I'm sorry. I don't want to let you down.
Win a Date with Tad Hamilton was Josh Duhamel's finest work.
I don't know.
Okay, good. As long as I'm not alone here, then I don't.
Both of you. Come on, our fans, they will know.
A recap of picks 17 through 24. I'm gonna at some point just try to figure out what reference Cynthia is making reference to. But look, all of these guys, if they are selected in the first round, what a journey it's been for all of them. By the way, for NFL prospects in their road to the draft, it's the ultimate job interview. It's high stakes, it's life-changing, and for Oregon quarterback Dylan Gabriel and Missouri wide receiver Luther Burden III, the NFL Scouting Combine was one of the biggest tests yet. Did they handle the pressure? What moments define their experience? For a little bit more on the prospects, take a closer look. Pre-draft journey in this episode of Destination Green Bay, presented by Toyota.
About to head to Indy to his combine time.
Another guy I'm looking forward to seeing, Luther Burden, one of the top guys.
I definitely think I'm prepared, all the hard work I put in. I have this opportunity to, be able to showcase my skills in front of the whole world. It's a great opportunity. Appreciate it. See you in Indy, man. Peace out.
And we are here, the 2025 NFL Scouting Combine.
It's the peak, everything we're working to. It's every kid's dream to make it to the NFL Combine and go crazy.
You got to go make it happen, so I'm going to let it fly, take a deep breath, and game on.
I'm going to feel confident in myself, confident in the work I put in, and why stop now?
Well, you can check out full episodes of Destination Green Bay presented by Toyota on the NFL's YouTube channel. Still to come, the final 8 picks in our fan mock draft. These are the real playoff teams. Do fans, are they going to get richer? The answer is coming up next. It's the fans mock draft here on Mock Draft Live. The Texans, how about this? Getting a little help to protect C.J. Stroud, Buck.
How about that? Hook'em Horns gets to stay in his state. We're thinking about Kelvin Banks. Light feet, great hands, does a good job protecting on the blind side. When we think about C.J. Stroud, making sure you set that fortress up to protect the king. Kelvin Banks is a talented player. Good prospect to be able to pick him at 25. That'd be a nice deal for the Texans.
Tell me about his toes.
Twinkle toes.
Perfect.
From 25 to 26, the Rams on the clock, and one of the all-time great actors ever with the pick.
Hi, Brian Cranston here, part of the Ramily, LA native, big fan. We had a great year. Stafford's back, defense is looking good. I think what we could really use is some protection for our QB. So I'm going with Josh Simmons, offensive tackle, Ohio State University. Yeah! Go Rams.
If Walter White says it, it has to be true.
Wouldn't mess with that man.
I would definitely not cross him. Seriously, one of my all-time favorites. Taking a look at picks 25 through 29. Bills Mafia, it's time to stand up.
Hey y'all, it's Chad Michael Murray, actor and avid Bills fan. Our Bills are on the clock, and we are taking Nick Emanwari, safety, South Carolina, and as always, go Bills.
Some strong flow there.
I don't know if he wants to be anything other than what he's been trying to be lately, but Nick Emanwari is the guy who tested off the charts, and this is a position of need for them. This is an athlete right here. I love figuring out the Bills defense because they added up front, so they give themselves some versatility to look at the back end, look at the front. They obviously paid Christian Benford. They kind of cleaned house with their defensive backs situation. This is a great pick for them. It's a very athletic upside pick.
Right.
Did you not get my reference to One Tree Hill, Bucky?
I mean, I didn't, but I'll look it up right after the show.
You're gonna be working real hard on Google. Kansas City, talked about this offensive line. They potentially get a stud here in Connerly.
You have to eventually invest in the offensive line. You're the Kansas City Chiefs. You have had issues on the point of attack for years. At some point, you want to make sure that Patrick Mahomes is not running for his life, even though he's been able to overcome it. Josh Connerly gives you an opportunity. Very talented player, coming on like gangbusters the last part of his career. I like to pick, especially at the bottom of the first round, take a chance on someone with this talent.
You know, you told me you like what's happening in the trenches, and that's how you would build your team. And it feels like that's been the recipe from an Eagles perspective, and they're doing a little bit of a double dip here.
Sure, just switch to the other side of the Oregon film, and you're going to watch a defensive tackle that clearly has like a Eagles-like mold. Now, are they going to pick here? I don't know. Howie's always going to be wheeling and dealing. I don't know if he trades down, finds a trade partner, etc. But this is a great opportunity to get a little younger up front, and this is a great class for that. So it's good job, fans. Well done.
I actually love what the fans are actually doing right now. On a lot of our mock drafts, we're talking about some skill position players. They went in the early stretch of this mock draft. Meanwhile, on the back half, we're talking about some dudes who really could be difference makers on offense and defense, specifically in the trenches. So kudos to the fans that were weighing in on social media and, of course, working on that draft simulator. Still to come, though, we've made it through the fans' first round of the mock draft. There's still a ton of talent out there. The prospects who could find their way into day number 1 of the NFL draft. The answer to that is coming up next. Back here on Mock Draft Live, Cynthia Freeland, Bucky Brooks, and Mike Yam with you. We're recapping the first 10 selections according to the fans' mock draft. And to be honest with you, not a huge amount of surprises 1 through 3. We saw some shuffling with some of the mocks that we've seen over the last couple weeks from our experts. I think a lot of fans can't wait to see where Ashton Jeanty will end up falling. I don't want to say relative consensus, but many of the mocks also have him linked to the Raiders at number 6. All right, just a couple days away, and I know what you're thinking. There's probably one of your favorite players that wasn't in that first round. Give me a name that you think could sneak from day 2 into day 1.
Travion Henderson, running back from Ohio State. He could be the pick for the Kansas City Chiefs at the bottom of the first round. The Chiefs need to upgrade their rushing attack, protect Patrick Mahomes, because everyone is loading up to stop the pass. But you got to have someone dynamic that can run it. Henderson is a big play producer, someone that has the ability to score from anyone on the field. Look for him to get into the bottom of the first round.
I'm looking at Maxwell Harrison. You're going to see a theme for me, and because there's so many good defensive front players, I think the guys in the back could sneak up a little bit higher because there aren't as many, so it's not as deep. So I'm looking at Harrison, and I'm looking at youth. I'm looking at speed. I'm looking at, you talk about the Chiefs. Well, you know what else Brett Beach likes? He likes a young defensive back. So when you're looking at this type of thing, it could be an opportunity to take a chance on the athletic upside.
Buck, for you, I know Mason Taylor's a guy that you've had your eyes on.
But look, man, you got the bloodlines, you got the legacy, you got a Hall of Fame dad and uncle.
Oh, yeah.
So you understand the family business. The family business is being a dominant player between the lines. When I look at the bottom of the first round, where it could fit, Washington Commanders, the Philadelphia Eagles, 2 teams that need people that can control the middle of the field. Mason Taylor is a wide tight end, meaning a complete tight end. He can do the inline blocking. He can go out and run routes. He can put the ball in the paint. Very talented player. Maybe he has a better career than the guys taking in front of him.
Woo!
I thought you were going to say better than the family tree. I was like, man, let's go. It is. That's why I was like, okay.
Hot take 58 minutes into the show.
I'm going to keep my theme going here, and I think that Benjamin Morrison, I know Bucky likes him a lot. Both of us have been hearing a lot of great things about how well he interviewed, how teams like him, what type of leader he is. Those are some of the traits that, in addition to what you've seen on the field, could push you up just a little bit higher, especially at a position of need like corner. He's got a lot of what you want and a lot of the pro style things, so to me, the fit could be very high.
Yeah.
Smart, tough, talented. It always works.
Oh, we get another T word in there.
I mean,
there's no tomorrow.
I would have
It's
waited
all
57
titanium.
minutes for that take if you were going to. I'm just saying. It's been awesome rolling with you guys here on Mock Draft Live. Enjoy the NFL draft. I know the 3 of us will. And, of course, Daniel Jeremiah, his final draft. You don't want to miss that on Wednesday at 8 Eastern.